Hi, I'm Alan for Shedhorn Sports, and today we're going to be looking at Brownings X-Bolt Long Range Hunter. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Today we're going to be looking at some of the features of Brownings X-Bolt, which is kind of a scaled down version slightly of the A-Bolt. Many of you are familiar with the A-Bolt. And the X-Bolt is a little more petite in size, and we're going to be going over some of the features that they have on this particular model. This is their Long Range Hunter, specifically designed for long range, but actually I think this gun would be a great all-around rifle. It's not too heavy. Actually, Browning lists this rifle at 6 pounds 13 ounces, which is, really pretty lightweight. It features a full-length 26-inch barrel, measures .660 at the bore end, which, is a good medium weight barrel. Has 8 flutes in it. The flutes are quite shallow, but that's okay. It's not a heavy barrel, so the flutes can or should be relatively light to keep your barrel mass up. Browning claims that it's hand chambered, and if they're claiming it to be, I guess we shouldn't doubt that they are. And for this evaluation, we've mounted a Huskama 3-12 by 42 scope. This is their Blue Diamond. Long range gun, we put a long range scope on it. We have it on an EGW base. That base is available in both a 20 MOA, this is a 0 MOA base, and we have the lightweight aluminum Night Force rings. So let me show you some of the specifics about this particular gun. The Browning stock has a fairly traditional look and feel. It's fairly small in the wrist and the forearm. It's made from they call it a carbon fiber, and then it's coated with their Duratouch, which you can see here. It says Duratouch on there, and it's kind of a soft rubbery feel. Very nice feeling. It's got a stippling both on the pistol grip here and on the fore and down here, so you're going to have a really good grip, even if it's wet. Really a good feeling stock. If you're familiar with the Browning A-bolts, you know that they have a 60-degree bolt lift rather than a 90-degree, a 90-degree would come almost to the scope. But this being a 60-degree, it leaves plenty of room for your fingers so you don't smash your fingers up against the scope, which most of us don't do. Most of us open the bolt like this and slide it back. But there is that extra margin of security there so that you don't hit your hand against the scope, which can be a big issue if you have big hands. This also has a Tang Safety here, which if you know Brownings at all, almost all of them have a Tang Safety, which is very easily manipulated from a shooting position. With the gun on safe, it locks the bolt, but it has this little button right up here, if you can see that. And this button allows you to, if you press that button down, allows you to open the bolt with the gun on safe, which is pretty nice. So the gun is on safe, bolt's locked, press that button down, allows you to lift and open the bolt. Now another kind of interesting feature to the X-Bolt is the magazine. The A-bolts have a magazine where it drops down and you remove it from the floor plate, where this is a absolute drop-free magazine made of polymer. It holds 3 rounds, and they call it a rotary, which I guess it would have to be to fit all 3 rounds into that little spot there. But this is a 7 mag, and it comes in a 7 mag, 300 short mag, and a 270 short mag. The latter two being in a short action as opposed to a long action. But 3 rounds, and it's a really durable feeling magazine. It feels like a really thick, durable plastic. It should be nearly indestructible, I would think. Now the X-Bolt Hunter, or Long Range Hunter, comes with what Browning calls their feather trigger. Okay, you know, it's a good trigger. It breaks really clean. It's pretty stiff, at least from the factory. I got a consistent trigger pull of 3.5 pounds on it, which I guess would be, you know, standard, what you would expect. But it seems stiffer than what you would think 3.5 pounds would be. Now they call it adjustable. We're going to pull this apart and look at the trigger and show you. It's supposed to be bedded too. We'll look at it and see if it is indeed bedded. But anyway, the adjustable trigger is set at 3.5 pounds, and it needs to be lighter than that, I think. I think 2.5 pounds would be better. It does break really clean, but it does seem rather stiff. So let's pull this apart and we'll take a look at the stock. Okay, we pulled the action from the stock, and the stock is indeed bedded, 2-point bedding. Try to give you a close-up of this. So you can see that bedding here at the rear receiver screw, and up here right in the recoil lug, full bedding of the recoil lug. And this is not a thermoplastic bedding. This feels like a epoxy type bedding. And then over here you can see that they've beefed up the support in the forearm so that there is minimal play. Good idea. They didn't leave that hollow, but that's it's got that webbing support in there. Lightweight stock, but it looks like it's quite sturdy. Well, we've got the gun apart. We'll take a look at the trigger here. And maybe you can see this right here. Right here in front of the trigger is your trigger adjustment screw. And it is very well locked in. A lot of adhesive on there to keep that thing from moving. So you're going to have to peel all that away to adjust that trigger. But if you like the trigger as it is, you don't have to worry about it moving at all. And then there's kind of a view of the trigger in its housing. The X-Bolt has a different bolt shroud than the A-bolts do, and I don't know that I like it a lot, but I do like it better than the A-bolt. The A-bolt bolt shroud is just a big monstrosity, and this is a little more smaller and streamlined. One thing I do really like, and let me zoom up on this, they put a smaller, more streamlined bolt release on these things. Allows you to withdraw the bolt from the action. The A-bolt is just a big old piece on there, and I do like this smaller, almost more reminiscent of a Cooper bolt release. So now you've seen most of the features on the X-Bolt, and I was hoping to insert our shooting this rifle at the time of this evaluation, but the weather has been less than cooperative, as many of you probably have noticed for yourselves. So I have a bunch of snow outside. We've had a bunch of rain on top of that. So the ground is real soft, the snow is real mushy. It's going to be a while before we can get this thing out to the range and shoot it. But all in all, I really like the gun. If I was to change anything, I think it would be down here at the bottom of the stock of the forearm. I prefer a flat forearm. It sits better off of if you're shooting off of a bag of some type or your backpack. This one is rounded. If you're shooting off a bipod, I don't think it'll make any difference at all. It feels great in the hands. It really does. But if you're shooting off a backpack, having that rounded bottom allows a little rocking in the front, at least for me, and I would have preferred it to be flat. I would have preferred the trigger come from the factory at 2.5 pounds. That's never going to happen, but that's what I would have liked. But 3.5 pounds is doable. It is adjustable if you want to get in there and remove all the Loctite. Gun's not heavy. It's kind of a larger scope on here, which is what you would expect with a long range. I didn't mention the recoil pad. It's got a really nice recoil pad on here. And for being relatively lightweight in a 7 mag, that's going to be, can be a pretty big issue. So nice recoil pad. It's not so soft though. It is soft, but it's not so soft that it's going to fall apart like some of the others that you may have seen or felt. There's a couple out there that's so soft that they tear real easily. This one feels quite durable. However, it is very soft. It's nice, cushy. So we'll get out to the range once we can dig our way through the snow and it dries out a little bit. We'll get out to the range and we'll test that. So until then, have a great day. We'll see you next time.